welcome to an amazing, exciting, multi-talented episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. But I'm not talking about you and Becky Lilly. I'm talking about our guest, the amazing. I'm going to try to list some or all of the jobs. Okay. Actor, singer, songwriter, producer, director, stage performer, and I mean this in terms of music, but also like off Broadway. Am I missing anything, Kate Nash?
Wrestler.
All right.
Yes, wrestler, obviously.
Wrestler, and I should know that because I'm the big wrestling fan amongst this group. And everyone knows who's listening to the show, we're sort of talking around different things, but you join two of our favorite guests of all time, Jackie Tone and Rebecca Johnson, in our quest to speak to all of your mutual colleagues. And you are super famous, which is amazing, but as people know, we're not looking for folks that are famous. We're looking for people who we generally admire and we want to hang out with. So Kate Nash, welcome to the Friday Night Movie family.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Okay. So before you were on this amazing show where you played a wrestler and blew us away with your acting and your comedy and your physical comedy and all
your
of
hair.
That, and your hair.
The hair. The hair is amazing.
And your smarts, because you played a very intelligent character.
A scientist, I believe.
As we learned when we were just learning things about the show, you had like 20 million listens on Spotify or some ridiculous number. I mean, you're in the tens and tens of millions as a musician and artist in England, and us being Americans, I mean, we have our pulse on things, but we don't have that much of a pulse. But your song, I'm going to start with Foundations because that's like the foundation. This is an iconic song.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy. So I've been making music for a long time, since like technically 2006, I guess. I started playing piano as a young girl and like writing songs at school. And then I decided to do my first gig in 2006 because I didn't get into I actually wanted to go to uni or drama school to study theatre. And I didn't get into any universities or colleges or anything. So I broke my foot. There's this kind of famous story that I fell down. I got my like final rejection letter and fell down the stairs and broke my foot. And I was feeling kind of very sorry for myself. And I worked in a like grilled chicken place called Nando's. That is this famous.
I think in Nando's, like in England, it's maybe considered like lower class maybe, but like here, like Nando's, I get so excited. Grilled.
It's like, because it's not fried. I think it's like classier. It's like a bit healthier, and it's peri peri.
The medium sauce on the rice with the yellow rice. That's so good.
I'm glad you know Nando's. So I used to work in Nando's, and I was just kind of sad that all my friends were going off to do exciting things, and I was like, I work in Nando's and I'm left out. And like my mum said, you had to work hard at school, otherwise you're going to end up in a job like Nando's. And I had worked hard at school, and I was still in that job that I didn't, when you're a teenager too, it's like you feel so when you leave school, it's so like disorientating of like what you are supposed to step out into the world as an adult, but you're not really, you're an adult, but you're not really an adult. You haven't like functioned as one ever on your own. So it's difficult to figure that out. And I decided that I was going to do a gig because it was something that I could do on my own. And I'd written songs since a young age. And then I kind of like spent this time with my broken foot, like really writing and focusing, and found my voice, I think, during that time. And then I think I was too scared to do a gig until that point, because then I was like, now I'm bored. So being scared is better than being bored and left behind. And I'd wanted to try something like that growing up, but I did school concerts and things, but I never like played a gig because it felt like a world that just felt very like boyish and not for me. But finally, boredom was worse than fear. So I booked my first show, and then I just never looked back. As soon as I did it, I loved it so much. And then I got paid £30 by the promoter. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, you can make money from this. I was like, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to only do this from now on and try and make it work.
So when you wrote the riff for Foundation, sorry. And I mean, and the Bitter Lemons, right? Like there's like, did you know when that song, like that song was going to be what it is? Because like you hear that the first time and you're like, oh, well, this is.
I had no idea. I do remember writing that line. I remember writing lines from it and being kind of like pleased with myself about it. But when I was in the studio and I was like trying out working with different producers, I used that one because I was like, oh, I don't really care about this one. So let me just like use this one because I can take a risk. Like I don't feel, because I hadn't played it live yet. I just didn't feel possessive over it or anything. So I was like, oh, I'm open to like, just experimenting in the studio kind of thing. Whereas like things like The Nicest Thing and Birds and songs, I'd been playing them live and I felt more like I knew what they were as songs, whereas Foundations was like a new song that I'd written, hadn't played it live yet. And I was like, let me just like mess around with this in the studio. And it was crazy. It was really strange. It's a really surreal experience because I don't have anyone like famous in my family, or I don't come from any like background, of that. So it was really the first time that happened to me and my family. And it's just a weird experience. I really remember my manager calling me, like they started playing Foundations on the radio because they had to, because Radio 1 had said no, had rejected me. They didn't like me. Whoever the head of like plugin was there didn't like me.
How's that working out for the BBC now, huh?
I was just going to say all those colleges and radio, and I'm like, I feel like this is your Pretty Woman moment. Like you worked on commission, right? I mean, like look who's making the mistakes here.
It was a great moment because I had so many plays on MySpace. It was still like MySpace days. MySpace really allowed me to have my career, and fans had just like played it so much they couldn't really ignore me anymore. And so it's MySpace that meant that like everything kind of happened for me. And I was eating Weetabix one morning in my mum and dad's house, and like I lived at home still, and my manager called me and he was like, I've got some really good news. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you're number one, like your record's number one. And I was like, oh my God. And it was like such a weird thing because I hung up and I was just like, I guess I'll just finish my Weetabix. Like, and I just like finished my Weetabix, and then like I was like, I guess I'll put this in the dishwasher. And you're like, you just, these like cinematic moments that don't really happen in, I personally feel like this is like a pet peeve of mine. Music is portrayed so wrong in film, like, and it's never been portrayed in a way where I've watched it and been like, that's what it's like. It's always like people in slow motion, like walking towards stage and then like playing shows and like being really cool and like everything's like in slow-mo and like just so dramatic.
Nobody putting dishes in the dishwasher.
I'm like,
so the moment in that thing you do when they hear their song on the radio for the first time and they're running through the streets and they all get into the shop and they're jumping around, that's not what it's like? I mean, because I just assumed that was. Well,
what was the first time you heard it on the radio?
Style.
Well, there are moments that are like that, but it's like such a small percentage of your career that like I feel like we're portrayed like we're just always walking in slow motion, like running around having these amazing. But like really that's like a tiny percentage. Getting your song played on radio is really exciting. It still is really exciting to me. And the first time it was John Kennedy on XFM, which was a really great show. He used to be on from like midnight to like 1, I think, or maybe it was a couple of hours, the show. And he would play like new music. And everyone like in London was kind of, music fans in England, in the UK and London especially, were like really into the John Kennedy show because he played like demos and he played all these, all the coolest kind of stuff that was happening in London. And I'd written to him, I wrote him a letter and sent him my demo. He still actually has it, which I think is so funny. And it's like, hi, John, I have 700 friends on MySpace. And I'm like, I just like, I really love your show and I'd love you to play my song. And I sent him my demo and he played it. And I waited up. Like, I think all my parents and my sisters had like gone to bed because it was like on at like 1 a.m. and everyone was like getting up early. And I like stayed up in the kitchen with the radio on and I was like, oh my God, is he actually going to play it? And it was like the last song of the show basically. And I just was in the kitchen like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, my song's on the radio. So there definitely are those moments, But most of the time you're just like at a service station or on the motorway or in a room with a really disgusting toilet and like trying to get like your monitors to work because so much beer has been spilled into them over the years that like they just don't really work anymore. And like you're like, where do I shower and how do I avoid all the pubes? I
feel like everything you're describing is cinematic. I want to see every single one of these moments.
It's slow-mo,
they're incredible.
It's a perfect segue. Oh, this isn't cinematic, but your music is cinematic. I feel like it tells I feel like there's so many great characters that come through in your voice and in the different songs, and then in the different styles of music that you bounce in and out of, such that there is a off-Broadway show called Only Gold that features you and your music, and this is for my sisters, the original Rum Tum Tugger himself, Terrence Mann.
It's true.
No.
Yes, it is.
It's true. No. We did run from September, October last year through to December at the MCC Theatre in New York with Terrence Mann. And just some amazing performers. Gabby Diaz is an incredible dancer, like the most mind-blowing dancer she's like changed my world actually, like as someone who I like to dance, as you know, someone who likes to go out and dance with my friends, and I enjoy like dancing in a personal way, but I've never really appreciated the art form before, and I've felt very like disconnected to it, I think. And Gabby is like, she's like another, it's so human and like so raw what she does, and so emotive, and she tells such a story with her body, and she can move her body, and it's just so incredible, her dance. And she kind of has made me like fall in love with the art of dance. And Ryan Steele and just so many like incredible performers that I got to work with, incredible singers, Broadway, like singing my music, interpreting it, arrangers, like just like really incredible people in the business, like, you know, rearranging in my music and telling a story through my music that was, you know, not what I intended initially. And then I went on to like write songs specifically for the show as well, but like turning Mouthwash from my first record into this like love story, like tension, kind of teenage angst. I mean, it was just such an incredible experience. I feel so lucky to have been able to work with such amazing artists and performers, to be honest.
And it uses music from all throughout your career, correct?
Yeah, it's like it really goes through all the records, and then I write like a bunch of new songs for the show too. So I feel like I've had such a lucky experience.
There isn't a cast recording yet, is there?
No, there isn't.
I'm so interested in that full.
I know it would be great to like do something with those songs at one point, because the cast were phenomenal. Really, it was like blowing people's minds.
Did Terrence Mann do any Rum Tum Tugger moves? I'm a big Cats fan. And I asked Rebecca about Cats because she had to play a cat. You don't have to answer that question.
I don't know his Rum Tum Tugger moves, but he really can sing. Like he can really sing, and really.
Oh yeah.
We're very big Cats fans in this family, so we know.
We like had a scene together at the end of the show that was quite like dramatic and emotional, and we got to like have this physicality, and like it's like a come to like, you know, it's like his like awakening moment. And I was playing the narrator in the show, and I kind of get to like push him into his like final steps. And Karine Plantadit was his wife, and she is just one of the most phenomenal dancers as well. I was so blown away. Every day I was like, I can't even be on this stage near these people because they're just too good.
That's an amazing feeling. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was scary actually. It was like the most scared I've been of anything. It's like in my whole career, I think I found it the most intimidating thing I've ever done.
So I've seen many video clips of your live shows. I'm always jealous because they're in places like Brixton. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
They're always in like Brixton. I'm like, well, we're in Virginia, so we're not going to make it. They look like it's like elevated above just people at a show. It looks like this joyous celebration of the music, and people know the words and they're moving with you. How is that a different experience than going out and doing a Broadway style performance of your music?
Oh, yeah. It's so different. Like for me, it's all about breaking the wall between you and the audience. You know, I like there to be no wall. And in a theatre, it's like there's a wall. And even though I was narrating, it's like there's very much like a wall. And so I think it was almost like restraint in a way, because it wasn't about me being, you know, myself. I'm like telling a story and there's like characters and people kind of flying across the room and I have to like hit marks, because if I don't, I'm going to get kicked in the head, like, and things like that. And so like I made a decision with my own music, my own live gigs a number of years ago, that I decided I just want everyone to come to my show and have the best time. Like I want my shows to be like the funnest night out ever for people. I want them to leave my shows being like, oh my God, that's so much fun. Like that was my goal. I was like, that's what I want people to feel. And I feel like I have achieved that goal.
It looks like it. It's such a gracious thing to do as an artist. You know, I've seen artists can do whatever they want. They're artists, but I've definitely been to shows where an artist, like the whole audience is cheering for their famous song and they're like, we're not going to play that.
Yeah.
And I feel like from what I've seen, it's like you give people the opposite. You're like,
I've been there though, but
really?
I don't understand people being there in the long term, but I do understand why that can, like that happened to me with my second record, but hear me out. So with your first record, especially young like me, I was like 18, I had 12 songs or something, and I toured it for like 2 years, and I just played the same songs 100 million times, and I got asked the same questions 100 million times, and I was 18. It's like I didn't really have that. I can talk, I'm Irish, I'll talk until like I'm the last person in the bar, you know, I will not stop talking. But there's only so much experience in life that I had at 18, and there was only so many songs that I had. So I felt like so drained, and I just was like, I don't want to fucking, excuse my French, just...
You can swear
you
on this
can.
podcast.
If you don't curse, Lily's going to eventually. So.
I just didn't want to sing those songs anymore, and I really wanted to carve out a space to be like, because the thing that happens in the record industry is they try to get you to just do the same thing again, and it's lack of innovation and non-creative minds in working with creative people going, do the same thing, or like work with this person who just made Justin Bieber's album because that will work. And you're like, no, I want to express myself. And so there's like a fight there that's like, let me express a different part of who I am. I have actually grown a little bit. I have a different thing to tell. I have a different thing to perform. So with my second record, I really didn't want to play Foundations, because I really wanted to be like, listen to this is different, and accept me for who I am. And in a way, I think that battle of like pushing people to hear new music, I still have it in me a little bit. I'm always like, I think there's a like, but I have so much more maturity now and so much more experience. And also like, I did a 10-year anniversary tour of my Made of Bricks album in 2017. And it just healed my heart. It healed me. It fucking healed me. Like, I feel like I went through I mean, we can get into whatever you want to, but I've been through a lot of shit in the music industry, and I didn't get bitter, but I did get a bit like scarred from certain things.
Sure. And
then I went on this 10-year anniversary tour, and everyone, it was like Christmas of a tour. Like everything just went right. All the crew and everything, we were all like, this is crazy. Like nothing is going wrong at any of these shows. Like it's all just like great show. The crowds is packed. Everyone's singing every word. It was just the most fun tour ever. And I played the album from start to finish. And there were some songs I hadn't sung in 10 years, things that I just had stopped playing. And it really helped me, like, you know, when like there's like a therapist is like, you have to like think about young Kate, or like young, you know, like your baby self, and like, how would you talk to her? And you're like, I don't know. That's weird. But in this tour, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I have like baby Kate with me. And I'm like, just like being so loving and accepting, and being like the things I needed to run away from, or I felt judgmental of, or I was angry at her for. I was like, I just felt like completely healed after the tour, like during the tour. And I would have like, there was this one gig I don't ever forget in Manchester, where there was this group of girls, and they were like tweeting me all day long and sent me a letter, and it was like really important that they get this message to me. And before I went on, I'm like, okay, because everyone's like, these girls really need you to, and I was like, right, read this letter. And it was a letter from them, and it was like they grew up at school listening to this record, and one of their friends, they said, like, hadn't survived her struggle with mental health issues. And I still feel emotional just thinking about it now. Like, you get to know people in a very personal way because you become part of their life, you know, they're a soundtrack to their life, so they tell you all these things. So she had, committed suicide, and her group of friends were all coming, like, in her honor to my gig because they listened to me together. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is just the most amazing thing ever to be part of that story. And that's why, making music is so amazing, because you just are like inserted into people's stories. And at the gig, I could see the group of girls that it was, and I just knew it was them because I could tell from the way they held each other and the way they were emotional and the way they would. I was like, those are school friends. These are the girls that wrote me the letter. And I was like, that is everything. You know what I mean? And these experiences and like that kind of thing, like, helped me just be completely comfortable with my 18-year-old self who made this album, and like feel really proud of myself for making that album. And I was made fun of a lot by UK media. I think a lot of sexism. I think that the teenage girl has been way more reclaimed since 2007. I don't think you could really talk about teenage girls in the same way that you could then. But like, I felt like, I think that there is in the comments, unfortunately, but in terms of media, what they actually can say is less.
What they can get away with saying.
They can kind of like leading people to say those kinds of things, but they don't say it when they used to just fucking slag you off insane ways when you were like a teenager. But yeah, I think like that really healed me. So that's just to say that, like, after that, I think I really learned the push and pull of like what you want to give an audience, and my comfort level of singing all these songs and like just feeling the joy in them myself in a brand new way. And so I don't have any like discomfort with any of my catalog now. And I like to push people to go like, hey, I'm going to do the new things. And like, this is how we're going to, you're going to have to bear with me on this new stuff. And then also I'm going to give you like treats of like, all the,
Well,
that's very evolved.
I have so much, there's so much music I want to talk about. Like, I could do a whole episode just on your song Life in Pink, but I have to avoid. Because also, if you want to see listeners,
Rebecca's in that too, right? You've seen Rebecca and Ellen from Glow in that video.
I only have the song. I've only listened to the song. I haven't
watched the video.
Okay,
it's a great video.
Plays like a deranged bunny, and Ellen's a nurse. You got to watch that video.
Okay, well, I can't wait. Well, there's going to be a playlist in our show notes of the songs I've been listening to.
Cool.
But we got to talk about Wild Bitch, which I hate saying that word. I hope it's okay for me to say it in the context of your super smart, hilarious film that I just saw. Jackie posted that her friends were making a movie, and I love horror comedy. And I read the premise, wrote to Becky and Lily, and we were all in on Wild Bitch as backers. And
Thank you so much for the support.
And then South by Southwest happened, and then we went to South by Southwest, and we got to interview Rebecca.
That's so cool.
Which was awesome. And now I feel like we get to complete the story.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie does such a beautiful. I mean, yeah, it's hilarious, but it's beautiful job illuminating back to the way women are treated, like the way people are okay with women being treated. I feel like it goes more than just saying, oh, women get treated badly. It goes and it illuminates how okay different elements of society, whether it's spouses or work colleagues or the news, are willing to treat women. And then you all reclaim it in such a funny, amazing way where, and we talked about this with Rebecca, how much we want to see the next episode of you two.
Love it.
Yeah, we need the second part.
So good.
Part 2.
Yeah. It's so cool that you feel that, because I think that one of our main things I think that's inherently in like mine and Rebecca's work and way of working together. And I think one of the things that we really wanted to do, and we wanted to kind of, the main thing we really wanted to both do was like play these kind of ugly, fucked up characters as we're like with this that story and that message, but like through characters that you're not necessarily, you're like, am I rooting for these terrible people? Like these characters are not really like, it's not like either of our characters are like the good guy, there's not like a simple, there's the good guy. It's like, these are kind of ugly characters. And I think that was what we got to experience a bit of that in Glow, like just being not just one dimensional, being complex, complicated human beings, which we all are. And I think for me, like horror is one of my favorite genres, because you just get to kind of push those boundaries to the most extreme place and put characters in these situations that are like, wow, the stakes are so extremely high. Like, what are they going to do now? And like, I'm so glad that you feel that way about the film, because I think it's not necessarily like, when you talk about the storyline, it's not necessarily like that's what you would think it's saying, because they're also like driving this like horrible kind of
and then there's the whole nature part as well, like the whole when you're pushed to the edge, how what you'll do for self-preservation and yourself, and there's that element too. I mean, I think it's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. We love the film.
We love it. We're so proud.
Is that where you guys met? On your wonderful TV show that you did together?
I know. Are we allowed to say?
I mean, that's up to you. We're just trying not to.
I don't mind promoting that show because it's amazing, and
also talk about a perfect example of big time producers
not
doing the art dirty.
Yeah, I mean,
we said that, not you. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like,
there should have been more seasons. We mean, like, it should never have been ended.
Totally. I think, we're in a really interesting like time with the strike of like, there's lots of things at stake, and there's like these, I was watching this video just on Instagram of like Bryan Cranston, and he's like, you see, he's like talking about not being replaced by robots, and I'm like, I cannot believe this is real. We're in this time now where literally Bryan Cranston is like seriously talking about not being replaced by robots, and like they can't come to an agreement, and just it's a very interesting time, because it feels to me like we're in the adolescence, or maybe not even adolescence. I think we're probably like in the toddler phase. We don't even know like where we think we're like so in technology, and I think we have no idea like what it really is going to look like.
Yeah.
And we just have to like fight to protect people's, basic rights of like not being.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For one day of work, and then, but it's and I think that it's a really when you think about technology and streaming, and just, I have lots of opinions about what happened to our show and what I think should have happened to our show, but
of course, I'm sure.
But yeah,
that's where you met. You're wonderful.
That is where we met, in the ring. Chave Guerrero, and I just like remember me and Rebecca being so like sort of timid at first about wrestling, and we had to do these like animal characters. We took on our first characters that we took on were animals, just for, I think, ease of like trying to take things and emphasize them in the ring. So it was like mouse versus rhino. I think I was rhino. I don't remember. And to just think about like that moment to now is, but our experience together, we got to just play with such like, in such an amazing environment, and all of the women became very close as well. So our friendship is like external of the show. It's
visible to all of us in the outside world. We always see all of you hanging out.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. It's like they're like my family. I think we are like a family in a way, and that means that like it's like not, I don't know. It's such an unusual environment to work in, because you get to see each other like every day for hours and hours and hours, and basically it's almost like being at school or something, because you just, especially because we all just got on, so made each other laugh so much. And so you don't really get that in normal life, but whenever we get together, it's just like family. It really is. It's amazing.
So here is a musical question related to your family. This is like, we're going to wrap with a little fun game. We like to play little fun games on our show. So I am gonna throw out names of your performers that you've worked with that we love. And first, you don't have to overthink it.
Okay.
What would be their walk-on music or theme music?
God. Okay, wow.
Okay.
No pressure.
No
It's got
pressure.
very serious.
Wow. Oh, okay. I feel like I'm gonna need my phone for this.
Okay, totally. Get your phone.
Yeah, Google
This is
away.
great.
I feel like
While you're getting your phone, I'll just say, reminder to our audience, we are supporting the Entertainment Community Fund. You should too. If you love movies, you love television, you love all the joy that we get from all these creative things, people are going to be hurting financially. So put your money where your mouth is. Go and donate to that organization. Do you have your phone ready?
I do.
Okay, awesome. All right. Okay. All right. So let's start with again, we feel like she's family because she's Jewish and like feels like she could be related to us. Jackie Tone, what would be Jackie's walk-on music? And we can play with this too while you're at it. I mean, other than her own song "Deep Like," which is hilarious.
Okay, it would be
Lily and Becky, you can play too. Well, Kate.
So, I'm going to say the first thing that came to my mind is probably not correct. And I'm thinking of Melrose. I think that's why.
Yeah, me too.
Because I don't know Jackie.
Were you thinking of Uptown Girl? I was thinking of Uptown Girl.
Oh, that's great. No, I was thinking of What a Feeling from Flashdance. And I can just see her like in like the leg warmers and like some knee like leg kicks, like getting into the ring.
I think that's great. I think that's great. I think Frank Sinatra, New York.
Oh, New York.
Yeah.
No, like it just
that's great.
Bam, bam, bam. That was like she's just
very dramatic.
Bread in the word. I'm like Jackie Tone's fucking here. Everyone needs to. Jackie Tone's like as big as New York, you know.
Yes.
Now a music video icon in her own right, Sunita Mani. Because the easiest one is Turned Down for What? Because she's in that video.
Yes.
But is there one that comes to mind?
This is a good game. Let me think. I think
you're like, why'd they ask all those Terrence Mann questions? We could have been doing this.
If you listen to the podcast, you would know why it's very important to discuss cats at every turn.
Every opportunity.
I would love to see like Suni like physically react and entering to Are You a Man or a Muppet? You know, from Muppet.
Yeah. From
that is
from
quite
that's from the
one. That's
that's
Concords.
Yeah.
The Concords. Yeah.
Brett.
I just feel like Suni is.
What's his name?
She just has
Jermaine and Brett.
She's got funny bones. Like she's just funny. Mark Maron always used to be like, "You're just funny." Like when she's just she's just funny. Like she just is a funny person, and she's so just like I just like to see her move to something like that.
Okay, and I know. Well, okay, we'll wrap on this one. Your frequent scene partner. I think in some ways, like he's the outlier in the cast in a lot of ways, but Christopher Lowell, who plays Bash.
This one's hard.
He's so great.
He's got the hair for like a good 80s song, right?
I love Chris so much.
I mean, and such an amazing actor. Like the things that
wonderful.
You can see him in, like sitcom, Your Show, the brilliant movie with
Yes, about
Promising
Young Woman.
Promising Young Woman,
yeah.
When he's so good.
So good.
He's such a great actor. He's such a great person. He's like one of my favorite people I've ever met.
That's always nice to hear.
He's just a gem. He's like just the best. He's just incredible. I would like I feel like Crimson and Clover by Joan Jett and the Black Hearts would be a great entrance.
Nice.
That's
I feel like that captures so many of the moods you could get with him. We've seen as an actor. That's so cool.
That's great.
Well, Kate Nash, you're just like more amazing in person than we thought you were before.
Such a delight.
And very funny.
Yes.
I have to say, you were funny yourself.
Thank you, guys.
Lovely having you on.
We're so grateful for your time and for your art, and we just can't wait to keep seeing your music. Hopefully see you live on.
I'm about to say, Shia, I think the siblings are gonna have to make.
Right, we're gonna have to.
We're gonna do a pilgrimage to wherever you're playing.
We will send a lot of messages and handwritten notes, so you'll know it's us.
I'll definitely be like in the US at some point, and I'm releasing a new record like next year, so I'll be like touring, and
that's exciting.
If you're touring in the States, we will be at the show. I know we will. We will come see you play.
We'll be there. And where would you like people to follow you?
I'm on Instagram at Kate Nash. I'm on X, like what? Twitter?
Oh yeah, I mean, sure.
Sure, you can follow me on there. I mean, we're all probably gonna. Twitter's probably on its way out soon, anyway. But I'm just like at Kate Nash and then katenash.com. And yeah, I'm going to Edinburgh Fringe this year with Rebecca.
Oh, the retreat.
Yeah, for the retreat, which is like so fun and so unhinged. It's like
I think we're backing that too, by the way. Backing.
Oh yeah,
that's great.
Anything Rebecca and anything Rebecca makes, we're backing. So.
Rebecca's the funniest person I've ever met in my life. Like I can't wait for her to become a huge star in the UK, because I think she's like. I've always told her I think that she has a huge audience in the UK because her humor is just so like cutthroat.
Just those underpants in the retreat, I feel like is perfect for the UK. So fun. I don't know what's going on in the scenes. I just see the Instagram clips.
Like I don't need to know. I'm backing this shit.
Yeah.
That's how we feel.
There are some artists where I'm like, I'm behind it. Seen enough. Don't need to see more. Always going to be behind.
Amazing.
And we should wish her husband a happy birthday. He just had a birthday this week.
Happy birthday, BJ.
Yeah, happy birthday, BJ. Kate, thank you so much for being here and being part of the family.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for listening to Friday Night Movie, the sibling rivalry and pop culture podcast. Join the Friday Night Movie family by following @FryNightMovie on all of the socials and visiting our website, frynightmovie.com. Our theme song is by What Does It Eat? And make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.